Tell us a little bit about this Indaba that you've organised, the Isle of Man Indaba. What is the purpose of it? Do you only host it in South Africa or do you take it across the world?
So Ilse, as a old South African and proudly South African, we brought the Indaba to South Africa to enable South Africans just to open their minds and stretch their minds a little bit further than thinking just the borders of South Africa. So for us, it's always important that we want to make South Africans aware that they can improve the way that they live, improve the security for future generations by diversifying outside of South Africa to the Isle of Man and just mitigating risk. So it's wise to keep some of your capital outside of South Africa in order to protect that for future generations. It's just a little bit of risk mitigation, and that is what we aim to achieve with the Indaba.
So who's your target audience? Who's the client that you're talking to?
The people that we would like to reach are people that are serious about securing their wealth and securing their wealth for future generations. And it's also those individuals that advise those families that we are dealing with. And I think for us it's important to make the advisors aware that there are so many options outside of South Africa that they can consider for that. So our clients are anyone that would like to know what is out there in the world and how that can be to their benefit.
This morning it was very interesting to hear the different takes on the black swan, sudden, unpredictable, hectic event, and then the grey rhino, which is something you can see coming and sort of plan for, but there's also uncertainties involved. Just chat about that a little bit. What are black swan events and what are the grey rhinos that we face at the moment?
Yeah, I think the best black swan event that I can speak about is COVID, where no one knew what was coming. The world suspected that some worldwide event will take place, but we did not know what it was. We did not know whether it was economical, and the whole virus thing caught the world off guard. And that for me is the best example of a black swan. A grey rhino is something that you can see is a risk. It is coming towards me, and you can see that it's big, but you don't know when it will hit, and you're not quite sure about the impact that it will have on that. Most probably the worst example I can use is death. We all know we are going to die. We know it's going to be devastating to our families, but we just don't know when it's going to happen. And our responsibility is to prepare today for that uncertainty to happen.
And then at the moment, sort of mitigating the risk, what would you advise people? If they've got a portfolio in this current geopolitical situation that we're in, it's uncertain times.
I think what came out very nicely on the panel today is diversification. Do not keep all your eggs in one basket. Make sure that it's well thought through. So for me, that would be the first thing, diversification. Secondly, make sure you do not take advice around the braaivleisvuur. That for me is not a good place to get advice. Get advice from a professional person that knows and understands and can guide you through the process. And then the third one of mitigating risk is not to delay. Do something today. Get into action today. Address it today. Don't wait for tomorrow, because we don't know what tomorrow may bring, and we want to be prepared for it. And again, it's a long-term vision. It's not about our life. It's about that of our children and their children. What can I do today to place my grandchildren in a better position than what I have found myself? And I think those things for me is very basic things, but it's a very nice way of mitigating the different risks that we are facing.
If I had 2 grown children and 4 teenage grandchildren, and I had a loose, say, 10 million rand available, what would you do with that 10 million rand?
Yeah, what a big question. I'm going to answer your question a little different. I would rather say, how do I prepare to hand that money over to my children and their children? And I think there's 2 principles for me. The one is open up discussions with the children and grandchildren. bring them into the loop. And most probably the most important part is being very clear as to what the family's purpose is. Establish, talk to them about this 10 million that we have. How are we as a family going to use that to not only protect ourselves, but also prepare for the future? So, that for me is a very important discussion. Break that open, not only with the children, but with the grandchildren as well. And that for me is the first thing that I would do. The second thing I feel very passionate about is learn to live within constraint. Don't spend the capital. Protect the capital and learn the skill of living off the income that the capital has generated. And if we've got that as a life philosophy, then we are actually starting to leave something for our grandchildren, because that capital is going to grow, because we as parents and grandparents are living within constraints. And those things are for me is very important. And then the last thing that I can say is, as a family, learn how to have fun together. And I can't stress that enough. You know, if our grandchildren see the fun that granddad and grandmama has had, then we start imparting things of life is not too serious. Have fun, and that should be part of that capital that we've got as a family is fun and establishing fun in the family. So that is how I would use the 10 million rand. There's so many options of investments, of buying family houses, but if that 10 million doesn't serve the family purpose, I think it's going to be opportunities missed. So, not a direct answer to your question, Ilse, but I hope that is a good answer.
Spoken like a true family man.
There we go. Love that.
Roelf, and then thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ilse. Much appreciated.